We've got Aidan. I want to talk a little bit more about Aidan. I told Aidan in his end of season meeting that his story and his path is my favorite kind. It wasn't easy. He had to earn everything, and he had to deal with setbacks, frustration throughout. But he kept at it. He ended up getting everything he wanted and he deserved. And I don't want to speak for him, but I'm sure he enjoyed it a little bit more because of his journey. We had our ups and downs, right? We had our moments, but I just want to thank you for not giving up, for not moving on. And I hope everyone on our team now who isn't in the spot they expected to be, or isn't in the role they want to be in, has been taking notes. Because he did it the right way, he did it the best way, and he got rewarded the best. Come on up, tell us about your journey.
Alright, now that Bryce got emotional, I'm gonna try not to do that because that's normally me. So when I realized the coach was putting pictures up here, I was just hoping it wasn't the one of me sticking my tongue out. So thank you for that as well. So when I sat down to write this speech, I stared at the paper for about 10 minutes. I typed something out, delete it, start over. I didn't know where to start when trying to wrap up these 4 years and do a little speech. There's a lot to say, and after making jokes that Bryce's speech would be too long, I found myself with way too many words on the paper. So first, I want to just tell a little bit about my story with Ithaca basketball. Because if there's one thing that's become clear to me, it's that every player's journey is completely different, and Logan, Bryce, and I are perfect examples of that. When I got here as a freshman, it was a tough adjustment. I didn't play, like a lot of freshmen, and it wasn't easy putting in the work without seeing the results you imagined. But after some conversations with Coach, I realized I had a role. It might not have been the most glamorous, but it mattered. I was there to get better every day and to push the guys who did play. That year, we called the scout team the Gray Squad, which has stuck and become a thing. Yes, I am trying to say I was the original Gray Squad. Lost my spot. The 5 guys who didn't get much playing time, but played a huge role every week getting us ready. I grew to enjoy walking into practice the day before games, hoping I'd be labeled as the other team's best player so I could have the green light and shoot whenever I touched it. The reality is, my first 2 years didn't go how most guys would hope they do. After getting a few chances early sophomore year, I was on the Gray Squad again. There were days I was frustrated. There were days I wasn't the best teammate I could have been. Days I questioned a lot of things, whether I should keep playing basketball, whether I should stay at Ithaca, or whether I should transfer. But in the end, my dad always talked me down. He's the one I owe a thank you to for telling me to stick it out and to keep working. Coach always told me there's a plan for everyone, and if you put the work in, your time would come, just like the guys before me. So that's what I did. I came into junior year with 0 expectations. That preseason, I figured out my role that was going to get me on the floor, and I focused on doing just that to the best of my ability. Out hustling, shooting open threes, taking charges, boxing out, not forcing pull-ups, and playing as a good complement to the guys that would be on the floor. I still remember the feeling on our preseason Canada trip when Coach was sitting next to me at that museum and he told me that I earned the opportunity to start in the first scrimmage. I probably responded like, all right, yeah, cool, like I expected it, but deep down it felt super rewarding. I remember texting my dad like, Coach just told me I'm starting. From then on, I was reminded exactly why I stuck it out. These last 2 years have been so worth the wait. As an upperclassman and captain, I've tried to express how rewarding it is when your work finally shows, for those guys who don't play right away. Everyone's journey is different, and if you trust the process, Coach has a purpose for you. Junior year, as most of us know, and which has already been talked about, didn't go exactly how we wanted, as we all told Coach in our postseason meetings that we underachieved. But this past season, it felt like something special. From early on. I remember telling some of the guys early on in the non-league schedule that I didn't see any reason we can't beat every team in our league and why we should. There was no reason we shouldn't bring it home this year. With just 3 of us seniors plus LB and Cole as juniors, I'll be honest, I did feel old at times. I know all you parents are sitting in here like, come on, man, you're not saying you feel old. But no, hanging out with these 18 and 19-year-old dudes every day, watching them make TikToks in the locker room, getting called unk, and hearing all these new words I've never heard before definitely made me feel it. Every week, they'd come into the locker room, throwing around this new term. After about 10 times, I'd be like, all right, what the hell does that even mean? They'd explain it to me, but if I ever tried to use it, suddenly it was hilarious and I'd get laughed at. But those guys became my brothers. That locker room bond, those relationships, that was my favorite part about this team, even more than winning a championship. What we accomplished on the court this year is something I'll carry with me forever. Doing what we set out to do in the preseason, when we would sit in Hill G75 and read articles together and talk about what it would take to win a Liberty League championship. Finally getting it done was so gratifying. That final stretch of the season, every second of it was special. I want to thank all the guys in that locker room, along with all of you who are in the stands, for making us seniors the last few weeks of college basketball some of the best times I've ever had playing. I'm going to miss all parts of it. Taking the floor with a group of guys who had the same mindset as me, who I knew had my back like I had theirs through thick and thin, was an unbeatable feeling. When I look back years from now, I won't remember the final scores, or who led the team in points that day, or who even played. I'll remember the moments. Some of these moments have already been touched on, but I'll remember those early practices when half our team was injured and coaches had to suit up just so we could scrimmage. I'll remember the New York City trip together. I'll remember the comeback win at Utica when we realized we could still win a game after playing like shit for the first 25 minutes. I'll remember the long bus rides, bodies stretched across the aisle, stepping over 8 dudes just to get to the bathroom. I'll remember the team meals and long hangouts at Wegmans or whatever restaurant we were at just to kill time. I'll remember how much winning can impact Coach Fareed's mood and make him want to stop for ice cream on the bus ride home. Whenever there was an issue that may make Coach upset, Logan and I would kind of look at each other and be like, well, there's nothing a win can't fix with that guy. I'll remember January break, when half the team would crash at my house and we cooked breakfast together before practice. I remember the little scuffles in practice when the coaches kept their whistles quiet just to spark some fire. I'll remember certain pickups, like the day I glassed AP, or the day Evan busted my eye open running through the lane like a bull, as he does. I'll remember the 7 a.m. off-season lifts just as much as the games. Even though some of you probably dread those mornings right now, don't take them for granted. There's a reason I still show up voluntarily to lift sometimes. Those hours together are special. Of course, I'll remember celebrating the wins and breaking down the losses. I'll remember getting our asses kicked at RPI. But that's all right, because I'll remember the first half of the Liberty League final a whole lot more. And yes, I'll remember the rough moments too, those hard conversations and the mistakes. But it's all those moments, good and bad, that helped me grow, helped us grow, and made this experience something I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. Now to wrap this up, I just want to say some thank yous. Thank you managers for giving us your time all season long. Smina, who joined us this year, and Sarah, who's been with Logan, Bryce, and I for the 4 years, I appreciate how hard you guys work to try and help us in any way possible. And I'm glad we were able to get the job done and you guys were there to experience it. Thank you to my classmates, Logan and Bryce. It's crazy how fast this 4 years has gone by. It feels like just yesterday we were all piling up in Logan's Honda Civic to drive to school together freshman year, as he was the one with the car. Logan, thanks for always being just you. I still remember one day when Logan and I were playing ones freshman year, which we did a lot, and Logan and I were sitting on the side and he asked me, what do you think about this year? I told him, yeah, I hope I can carve out a little time and play as a freshman, for sure. I thought that was a confident answer, but not quite for Logan. He looked at me and said something like, yeah, I don't think any of these guards are better than us. I want to start. I nodded and probably said something like, yeah, definitely. But in my head, I was like, this little scrawny kid is crazy. He thinks he's just gonna walk in here and start with all these returners who had just won the league. But that was Logan, talking trash and pickup before people even knew who he was or whether they picked him up for the first game that day. But that confidence was contagious. Even though he drove me crazy some days when we were on opposite sides, I grew to love playing alongside him and feeding off of each other's energy. Logan earns guys' respect by just being himself and letting his work ethic show, and there are definitely things I've learned from him during our time together. And Bryce, thank you for being my guy these past 4 years. Thanks for being the guy that would say, yeah, sure, I'll go, no matter what idea I had. Thanks for making the team laugh and never letting there be an awkward silence, no matter where we were. We've gone through pretty much everything together in our 4 years, and it's been a blast. Thanks for being a guy who always had my best interests and giving advice no matter what it was about. What you did this year was unbelievable. First, self-diagnosing your injury was pretty impressive. But the way you carried yourself and found new ways to help the team was inspiring and showed just how much you care. Thank you to all the assistant coaches I've had here. I've had 3 guys during my time here, and each one helped me grow in different ways. Thank you to Coach Sasso. You were the perfect fit for this group this year. I'll admit when you ran your first scout and hit us with those corny one-liners, I wasn't sure what to think. But I ended up loving them and even writing them down. You knew how to get everybody's attention. You brought great energy every single day, kept the vibe positive, and never let anyone get sleepy, like Bryce mentioned, especially if they yawned. You played a huge role in our success this year. I appreciate you helping me with whatever I'd ask for, whether it's been about basketball during the season or about what the hell I'm gonna do with my life after basketball. Or not after basketball, after college. Kenny, thank you as well. You came in and probably played way more than you expected. You were grinding behind the scenes, but what we saw was you busting your ass on scout and in drills, and straight up cooking some dudes in practice. Chris and AP can attest. You did everything we needed. Thank you, Coach Fareed. One thing I admire about Coach is how he adapts to every team and really focuses on what guys do well and what our team needs to work on. This year, one of our focuses was discipline. So we had early mornings, we had strict rules on some things, and we held guys accountable. He taught us to be lions rather than sheep, and he even forced us to eat Italian dishes in bright white hoodies every away trip, really making us disciplined at the dinner table. I'm sure it'll pay off on some of these guys' first dates down the road. Thank you for believing in me, trusting me, and giving me the opportunity to grow here. Thank you for not turning your back on me when I made mistakes, and for helping me mature over these 4 years. I've always respected how real you've been with me, how open our conversations were, and how you let me lead and be myself on and off the floor. I might have liked to take a few more pull-up mid-range jumpers, but I know it wasn't a 5 on the shot scale. Lastly, and most importantly, thank you to my family. I'm beyond lucky to have had 2 parents, 2 brothers, 4 grandparents, aunts, cousins, and so many others support me through this journey. Even when I didn't play a minute, you still all showed up. I wouldn't have been able to play college basketball without you. Mom, thank you for being so involved. People might not know this, but my mom basically ran my high school booster club like a professional job, making sure we had everything we needed and more, giving me and my friends the best experience possible. Even now, they still try to contact her and ask her what to do. Then these past couple of years, she's tried to help out with the program in any way possible, to the point where I'd say, Mom, you don't need to do that. Thank you for spoiling me all these years. Although I don't acknowledge everything, I truly appreciate it. Like having dinner ready for me after the gym at home. I never appreciated those meals as much before I didn't have a meal plan here. Without you, I'd probably weigh about 145 pounds. After games, you were always quick to say I played so well, or point out one thing that I did well. But I think eventually you realized that telling me I played well when I didn't think I played well didn't help the situation. So you'd switch it up and say things like, how's the bus ride home gonna be? Or what are you guys doing tonight? Thank you for being understanding and always being there. Dad, thank you for being my coach, my rebounder, and the one who got me to fall in love with the game. I'll never forget you trying to show me those grainy highlight tapes where the camera barely worked. Luckily, my kids will be able to watch Ithaca 24-25 highlights clearly on YouTube. I called you just about every game to hear your thoughts, and I always looked forward to it. Even if I knew you'd ask why I passed up the open pull-up. Thank you for caring so deeply about this journey, as it never felt like I was going through it alone. I'm not sure what you're going to do with all this free time, but I'm sure you'll figure it out. Last but not least, thanks to Kay Holmes, my younger brother. Even though I probably left you on red 50% of the time, thank you for the pre and post game texts. I don't know what I would have done without getting a text from Kay Holmes saying, "Big game today, 3," or "Good effing bleep, 3," or "Yo, you're good, 3, keep shooting." The kid really knew everything about our team, and I loved it. Now, before I wrap this up, I have a couple gifts to give out to the coaches. We thank you guys for everything you did this year, and we thought it was time to add some decor to your guys' office. So I'd like one of you guys to come up here and open this.
Go ahead.
So we can replace it.
You want me to open it?
Yeah, I want you to open it.
Thank you.
Success.
About that.
That is from everybody in here, just showing our appreciation and wanting to get rid of that other picture hanging up in your office.
Those guys will get replaced. There you go. Appreciate it.
That is all I have.